So this is an example, a great example of uh, the definitive characteristic of people who gravitate to the progressive left these days, right? This adolescent narcissism, this assumption, this uh, presupposition that if you don't see the world the way I do, if you don't agree with me, the only explanation for that is that I'm a better person than you. And I'm entitled to denounce your humanity as inferior to my own uh, because you haven't told me I'm right. So Jagmeet Singh, the leader, he got kicked out of parliament the other day because he called another member of parliament racist. And he did this because the other member of parliament had the temerity of not endorsing uh, Jagmeet Singh's motion that he was putting forward that he wanted everybody to accept. We're in this phase now where the COVID-19 hysteria has kind of been displaced by mass hysteria about racism. Right? Nobody was talking about this 3 weeks ago, but now it's the only thing worth talking about anywhere in the news. It's like the biggest crisis anywhere is racism for some reason. Well, it's not for some reason, it's because something happened in the US and everybody has decided, well, we should copy that. And of course, the media in Canada and elsewhere has jumped on the bandwagon. It's like, oh, this is the story of the day, and we have to like make everything about racism. So you turn on television news, you see the news on the media, everything's racism, racism all the time. And particularly this idea of systemic racism, right? Where, it's another one of these expressions, these terms that the progressive left have come up with that isn't really defined ever, and nobody ever like points out exactly or proves that it's there, but it's used to to proclaim that things are racist, institutions are racist to the core, and everybody's afraid to say, well, no, or why, or how do you know that, or prove it. And so this is sort of what happened in this incident with Jagmeet Singh. The premise was that everybody in Parliament, as he says, has to acknowledge that the RCMP is systemically racist. So let's check out Jagmeet Singh. This was a press conference he had afterwards describing what happened.
So people are angry, people are frustrated. So today we brought forward a motion. And the motion was a pretty simple motion. Tackling systemic racism is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. But there's some clear steps we can take. One is to call out that yes, indeed, everyone in this House, the House of Commons in Parliament, acknowledges that there is systemic racism in the RCMP.
Right, so right there, it's like everybody has to acknowledge that there's systemic racism in the RCMP. That's just not a big deal. You just have to acknowledge that there's systemic racism in the RCMP. As if there's no question about that, as if there's no justification to question this, what is an exceptionally stringent judgment on this organization and everybody in it. That this organization is evil to the core and full of racists. But no, let's just all accept that.
And we put forward some changes around, shouldn't we respond to a health crisis with healthcare workers? Shouldn't they get funding instead of police? And in that moment, we put forward this motion that I thought, given where we are, given what's going on, given the lack of action, here's something we can do concretely to actually make a difference. And when the motion was presented, I heard a lot of people saying yes. And the speaker was about to move forward and accept that there was a lot of yeses. And then I heard one no, and the speaker didn't hear it. And then that MP repeated louder so he could be heard. And I looked back, and he saw me look back and kind of shocked that anyone would say no to this motion.
Kind of shocked that anybody would say no to this motion. Shocked that anybody wouldn't just agree with the way I'm framing this. Like, there's no excuse to not simply see the world exactly the way I do and apply the interpretations to it that I apply to it. Just shocked that it's Parliament. People disagree all the time. That's the point of having Parliament.
Federal jurisdiction, clear path to do something about systemic racism in a moment where everyone's demanding action.
So to do something about systemic racism, we're not defining systemic racism. We're not demonstrating that systemic racism is a thing or applies, that term, whatever we decide it means, applies to the RCMP.
And I looked back and I saw that MP not only say no, but make eye contact with me and just kind of brush his hand, dismiss it. And in that moment, I got angry. I'll be honest, I got angry. But I'm sad now.
He's sad now. JAGMEET's sad now. That's right. So he got angry. He got angry because this other member of Parliament disagreed with him. Didn't want to support a motion that made this sweeping denunciation of the RCMP and went like this. And apparently JAGMEET Singh couldn't tolerate that. And now JAGMEET's sad. He's sad now.
Because why can't we act? Why can't we do something to save people's lives?
And there you have it. Not agreeing with me, not supporting my emotion, not supporting my motion in Parliament means you're not willing to save people's lives. This is ridiculous. This is a leader of a major federal party in a major Western democracy. This guy sounds like a teenager speaking. And now he's
We can do something. And why would someone say no to that?
Oh my God. Because they don't agree with you.
Glad these waters are here. Give me a second.
This is embarrassing. This is a parliamentarian, a leader of a party. Anyway, and so then he repeats the same stuff in French. But this is exactly the issue here, right? And you can't discuss things with people who view the world this way. When people conflate their own subjective interpretations with universal truth and moral perfection, there's no room for discussion or debate or some mutual understanding, right? All there is that binary decision, right? There's a binary option. It's you either tell these guys that they're right and you're deemed to be among the enlightened class, or you're denounced as morally corrupt, inferior to them, and evil by definition. This is the worldview of the left, right? You can't get through to people like that. You can't talk to people like that who start with the conclusion that they can't be wrong and disagreeing with them can't be right. This is why this is so dangerous, but this is overtaking the world at the moment. Right? There are people being fired for having a perspective that doesn't conform to the worldview of Black Lives Matter right now. There's a professor at UBC, University of British Columbia, who was just fired the other day because he or she liked a couple of tweets or Facebook posts that were anti-Black Lives Matter. She was fired for that. Right? We're literally in the era of Orwellian right-think, and that you can be oppressed if you don't demonstrate conformity to right-think. And like he mentions that everybody in Parliament, including the Conservative Party in Parliament, were all voicing agreement with this motion that we should just declare arbitrarily, without any investigation or any justification, that the RCMP is systemically racist, right? Because everybody's terrified to voice opposition to this. This isn't good. This isn't healthy.
This is going to get ugly.
Never okay.